Hello, my name is Pauline Beliveau, and this is my final presentation for the Fall Applied Research Project of the Diploma of Educational Technology from Cape Breton University. My subject is the implementation and effects of high-tech augmentative and alternative communication to improve the lives of nonverbal adults with intellectual disabilities. One could argue that alternative communication has existed since humans first walked the earth. Facial expressions, hand gestures, and indistinguishable sounds are all unaided forms of augmentative and alternative communication, or AAC. There are two types of AAC: unaided, where only the body is used, and aided, which means that you use tools such as pen and paper, communication boards, speech-generating devices, and these can be low or high-tech. For various reasons, some humans, including children and adults alike, do not have the capacity to communicate verbally. This does not mean that they don't have their own ideas and opinions and needs and wants to express. It's just that we need to find a different way for them to do so. Non-verbal school-age children usually get the tools and the support they need to learn to use an AAC system. What happens, though, after these children age out of school is that these adults that we are expecting to integrate into society don't have the tools or the support that they need. We speak of inclusion for these adults, but without a form of communication, inclusion is impossible. So what does AAC look like for nonverbal adults with intellectual disabilities? How can we implement AAC in a non-school setting? And finally, what effects could AAC have on the lives of these adults? What are the best high-tech AAC tools for adults with intellectual disabilities? The first official tool was Rose Communication Board, invented in 1920. Since then, numerous devices have been invented. After reading studies from all over the world, it appears the consensus is that smartphones and tablets are the recommended tools. These are more portable, affordable, programmable with all kinds of apps. They have all the languages, they're accessible, and they're widely accepted by everyone. They're the least expensive and the most adaptable and the least stigmatizing for the users in comparison to large communication boards or other devices that are less familiar to the general public. So what is the best way to implement AAC in nonverbal adults? According to Buchelman, a leading expert on the use of AAC in adults with intellectual disabilities, there was a false notion that it would be best to learn to use the AAC in a structured and formal setting. But research after research has proved that it's best to learn to use them in a natural setting in everyday situations, that most people with disabilities will learn better that way. Now that the best tools and the best method have been identified, it's time to figure out who will be implementing the AAC. Unfortunately, this is where some of the obstacles or challenges come into play. Unlike children in a school environment, adults living in group home settings or attending day programs do not always have a staff trained in adult education, and even less frequently one trained in AAC use. In all the studies used for this research, lack of training for staff was the number one cause of the absence or discontinued use of augmentative and alternative communication systems. A second challenge reported pertaining to staff is the perception that they feel they know their clients and can guess or figure out what they want without using AAC. It's not necessarily done with bad intention, but it does rob the nonverbal adults of the only voice they may have. Still, others reported that it's just too time-consuming to use the AAC. Are there solutions to this problem? Very little research has been done on this particular issue. In her study, Rombout suggests that emphasizing the importance of communication to support staff, having therapists work on-site with the clients to teach AAC use, and also possibly using the method of train the trainer could help augment the use of AAC in care facilities. Another advantage of using a smartphone or a tablet as an AAC device is not only the tool that it gives you, but also the new opportunities that it opens up, because so many people have devices. So even people secluded in a group home setting all of a sudden have all kinds of opportunities to communicate with others that have the same interests. When tools, method, and proper implementation do come together, what are some of the positive effects of the use of ACC in nonverbal adults with intellectual disabilities? In all of the articles and books consulted, not one negative effect was reported. There were, however, many positive outcomes. Some noted a decrease in challenging behavior, a higher tendency to initiate conversation and have longer conversations, increased independence, increased ability to ask for needs, the ability to report abuse, the ability to socialize with others, have a better sense of belonging, and even in some cases, an increase in verbal output. While I was doing my research and meta-analysis, I had my own personal case study to learn from. I introduced an iPad with the ProloQuote Go application to a verbally limited adult with intellectual disabilities. After just a few months, it is obvious the iPad has improved her quality of life in ways I hadn't expected. She has learned to use the ProloQuote app that I customized for her in French to report her daily activities at the day program to her mother. She has learned to FaceTime with family and friends in evenings. This has increased her social skills, it has helped her gain some independence, it has helped her feel less isolated, especially during a pandemic, and it has actually helped augment her verbal output in all situations. Our next goal is to teach her to use Siri so that she can look up recipes, since she is unable to spell or write. What are some unresolved issues or follow-up research that is proposed in many of these studies? Some are asking how best to educate and train caregivers and support staff, and that would include changing their belief system. How to ensure the continued use of AAC in those who have aged out of school. And what are the best implementation methods for adults with intellectual disabilities? If you want to learn more about the use of AAC in nonverbal adults with intellectual disabilities, it's still a fairly new field, but there are some specialists such as Buchelman, Nepo, Sutherland, Rombouts, and Ogletree.